I forgot to make a human face. It's the Jaunty Mantis.
Why would you make a human face? We are Jaunty Mantis friends. We are insectoid creatures from a realm of fantasy adventure and tactical combat.
From Hattiesburg.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that kingdom.
I haven't done a Zorak bit on the podcast, and it is the Jaunty Mantis. So for various reasons, you'll never find out. It's secret. Sorry, we're starting off coming in hot, ungoverning people's cylinders. It's the Jaunty Mantis. I'm Jesse. With me as always is Matty. What's up, Matty?
It hasn't always been always, but it's been often enough. I'm Matty, the other guy.
Hey, one of them, that guy. We are talking today about, we're doing a review for Draw Steel. Like we are hot to the presses for this game that came out like around when Gen Con was, so back at the end of July, beginning of August.
It's not my fault that they announced these things and then I back them on Kickstarter or BackerKit, and then it takes a really long time for them to happen, and then I forget that I supported it, and then accidentally get reminded during a past episode that you and I recorded together, and then go and find my books waiting for me in the BackerKit link. So it's my fault. Blame me. I don't know.
Okay, I will. What have you been up to in gaming?
In gaming, my group in the Chaos Rifts Earth game, a complete role-playing game, by the way, we are delving deeper into the recent tragedy of what is now Rifts Earth in the apocalypse. I almost said post-apocalypse, but it's current apocalypse.
Yeah, it's happening now.
Yeah, and that's really, really scary. And our game mother, Patrick, is doing a fantastic job. And Jesse, you're in this game, and I wanted to kind of get your opinion about balancing out. I don't want this to be the topic of this episode, so let's keep it brief.
Okay.
But, we have a player in our group who hasn't been able to make a couple of games. No problem. It's not a big deal. But what do we do about characters from players that can't attend, they have to step out for a little bit?
Yeah.
In our game, that character has a disease or something and is in a med bay and is getting, fixed up. But that's, what do we do about that? Has that always been very awkward, for you in games? It's always awkward for me to try to transition that character out.
I think there's a guy I played with a long time ago, Mike Purdue, and he had a party gym. Everyone just get in the party gym to rest, and one person would stay outside. And then when people didn't come out, they were just resting in the party gym. So it was a video game conceit. Everybody rolled with it, and they just played with who they could at each new session. For poor Felix, that was actually organic because I believe he has a physical endurance of 4. I think that is what he rolled when he rolled up the character. And then he came up with the story about something goes wrong and releases a gas from this device he's not supposed to have that he's been working on inside his armor that makes his, physical endurance 4. So that's why he's sickly. And that has been the convenient, artistic use for why he's out when, Aaron can't join us for a session.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's awkward. I think it, I think Pat might be working a little too hard to try and justify it, worrying about it a little too much. But
it's funny because in the 1 to 20 game, I created a story element to conveniently take Aaron's character, out of the game and have it be really cool. But the party never fucking found it. And despite all of my efforts to lead them right to it, they still just never did it. So, yeah. All right.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know that it's a thing you can solve. I think it's the vagaries of scheduling as an adult, like none of us, here's the thing too. And this is kind of a segue into Draw Steel. oh man, oh man. I wish this book had come out when I was in my 20s and
Oh
like
my
had a
God,
fucking
yes.
part-time job and was in college. Like
Hmm.
rather than when I'm like in my mid 40s with two children and a full-time job and a wife
Yeah.
who I enjoy spending time with. Like,
Yeah. If, what did we get into when we were that age, right? When we were in our 20s, what were we super into? Dungeons and Dragons 3.x.
yeah,
We were seriously into that game. We had multiple books. We were poring over rules. We were setting up vast tactical, combat encounters, and having a great time. So I get that. That makes total sense to me. And I wish that as well, Jesse.
God, to just spend time devouring feats, but we don't have that time now. But we tried.
We
We
certainly
tried
did.
with Draw Steel. So here's my metaphor for Draw Steel. This is my overall impression. Draw Steel, MCDM, Matt Colville's thing. And there's other people involved, but he's the famous one. Um, it's like you hear about this really great steakhouse. You love steak, right? You've been eating at the same steak place forever. And here there's this new steakhouse and it's all like super fancy. They've got a Michelin star somehow in their first year, right? So you go to this steakhouse and it's all got like beige wood and low lighting and like smoked cocktails and like, wow, this place is fancy. And then you see a board and they've got one of those deals where if you can eat the entirety of a 32-ounce steak, you get your meal free and a t-shirt that says I ate the 32-ounce steak.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 40-ounce steak is Draw Steel. And I don't think I'm getting the t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like
I
the
mean,
steaks it's Wagyu, like it's really fine meat.
makes sense. Yeah.
But my eyes may be slightly bigger than my plate on this one.
Yeah. They put the menu in front of you and you said, yeah, I'll take the salad bar. That's sure. I know that's an add-on price. And then you realize you've made a horrible mistake because you don't have enough room for this 48-ounce steak that you're
Yeah.
supposed to be eating.
Yeah. I mean, what are you supposed to do with all 56 ounces of this steak? Like I filled up on rolls.
That's
like,
right.
why did I do that? And why did I have a single bite of the mac and cheese?
You didn't have to,
No.
but you did. And now you feel a lot of pressure to eat a 62-ounce steak with gristle and fat. All that's got to go down too, buddy. You can't skimp on the good stuff.
The point is, we stared this week at 70 ounces of steak.
Yes.
And that's how our cylinders became ungoverned.
That's right.
Jaunty Mantis looks at Draw Steel. Thoughts, impressions, how do you want to do this? You want to roll through section by section?
Yeah, let's go through section by section, but I want to start out by reminding the audience that I backed this, okay? I heard about this. I got excited about it. I think the nerds over at MCDM are fucking awesome. This book is a testament to their talent and skill. I think they're incredible. And when I found out they were making their own game, I was like, here's my fucking money, and threw it at them through the magic of the internet. So there's going to be things that I like. There's going to be some things I don't like, but I want to keep it forward front in everybody's head. I wanted this. I supported it. I'm happy with it overall. And I think you should be too if it's your thing. If it's not your thing, that's totally fine. But I just wanted to preface that.
Yeah, we went in there full knowledge and ordered this 78-ounce steak.
That's right.
So just for clarity purposes on this review, this is a read-through review. This was kickstarted by both of us. Neither one of us have gotten a chance to put this on the table. So we have not played it. It's a read-through review. And yeah, there we go. Any point too, I want to clarify, there's going to be times where I sound mad during this. And I think upon reflection, I don't think it's the writing in this book that I'm mad at. What I'm mad at is that I have aged and that I do not have the time necessarily to play this game the way that I think I would love to. So it's just, I'm mad about the stage. I'm mad about the loss of my youth. And in the end, are we not all mad about the loss of our youth?
I mean, essentially, that makes a lot of sense. But Jesse, I want to give some pushback on what you just said, because I really feel like Okay, let me point something out. How many games do you play in a week or run?
About 4 most
Okay,
weeks. Yeah.
so it's not like you don't have the time allotted that you've put aside to play role-playing games, right?
Yeah.
It's not incumbent on you and your age in order to enjoy a role-playing game. And if it is, then that is a design flaw of the role-playing game itself. And I really do think that's going to be my first criticism is Draw Steel takes too much in order to get fully invested in wanting to play it from my point of view.
Yes.
And I obviously I'm not alone on this because of you, but I think if your age is a dependent factor and whether or not you can play a role-playing game, I think it's a flaw of the game itself. I think
Yeah,
that go ahead.
I would say that it's the factor of my age is that carving out the time to learn this well enough to teach it to people.
Okay.
That is like because
Okay.
I get this fundamentally. Like I understand what they're doing here. Like, but
Okay,
like,
let's start there. What are they doing here then?
well, Draw Steel claims to be a tactical cinematic role playing game,
Mhm.
heroic role playing game. And so, what they have done is they have created a very tactical combat system and they've bolted on a lot of add ons.
Mhm.
Uh, that give you, basically the play arc. It is intended to be heroic, it is intended to be cinematic, and it is intended to be tactical. And the thing I'm just going to give them credit for, going to skip ahead to the combat section. If you've read 3.5, if you played any fourth edition, learning how combat works in this game is not going to be a challenge for you. This is the part that I'm just like, okay, cool, I got it. There's
Mhm.
auras, there's area of effect. Here is the burst radius. This is all things I'm used to from 4E. That's cool. The amount of time you can use your powers. Okay, neat. There's a lot of 4E in this. Tactically, great. Understood.
Yep. There's a lot of inspiration from fourth edition, but I don't think that this, I've heard some people say this is MCDM's version of fourth edition Dungeons and Dragons, and I don't think it is. I think it functions very differently from fourth edition Dungeons and Dragons in some very exciting ways. Uh, so I'm excited to dive into it.
Yep. Okay, cool. Well, it starts, there's 2 books. Today we're talking about heroes. We will
The
save the
82-ounce steak.
Yeah, we'll save the other 90 ounces of steak that is the monsters book for a future episode. Um, and it starts, of course, with making a hero. First thing up, we have Ancestries.
Mhm. Okay, this is going to be the first thing I don't like.
Yeah.
And it goes back to my excitement when I heard that the nerds at MCDM were going to be making a role playing game because these are some creative motherfuckers. So I
Hmm.
was like, I can't wait to see what kinds of we're calling them ancestries now or species, or previously they were called races and other in role playing games or whatever you want to call them. I was so excited to find out what they were going to come up with because I'm like, I bet it'll be crazy and off the hook. And some of it is, but a lot of it feels really, really safe. And it
Yeah.
feels like it's really stuck in what we expect out of a fantasy role playing game. There are dwarves, there are elves, there are hobbits, essentially, or gnome,
Well, they're
halfling,
called
small
polders
folks.
now.
Right. And I have to tell you, Jesse, I was really disappointed that there are essentially tieflings in this role playing game. There
Yeah,
are
there's tieflings,
dragonborn.
there's dragonborn, there's dwarves. Uh, I do not like a single picture of a woad elf. Like they like
Wow, really?
yeah, I'm just like those ears are ridiculous. Like
I love the woad elves. I
oh,
was they're my favorite thing in this book, and that makes me that much more upset that we have these stereotypical fantasy tropes for species or ancestries options. Because I was like, look at these crazy bat-eared woad elves. I wish they were called something else. because they look really cool and unique.
You know, the thing I will say, like none of the art did it for me for any of these, but the chapter fiction, like for
Mm-hmm.
each ancestry, like the high elf one, I was like, oh shit, these dudes are kind of like this is sinister and kind of cool, and I like this. Like, so the text of the did a lot more work for me being interested in these. But yeah, there's the Hakan or Goliaths.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Revenants are kind of your basic undead one. That's not a thing that's regular. Time Raiders are four-armed Githyanki. Their story's a little different because they're time travelers or whatever. But yeah, I don't really care for the implied setting of this. It doesn't do anything new for me.
Yeah. And that's part of my earlier complaint is like I was looking for something that was gonna fucking knock my fucking socks off. And I got typical fantasy with like a cool Masters of the Universe kind of edge to it. You know what I mean?
I hadn't made that connection. I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not. I feel like they should have embraced like this felt like Matt Colville or MCDM's Masters of the Universe fantasy role playing game. And if it had been more of that, I would have been totally down for it. But I feel like that's mixed in with the generic, stereotypical fantasy, and this is just our take on these things that you all know and love. And I feel like it works against it. I feel like what they were trying to do was take people who enjoyed, fifth edition Dungeons and Dragons and been like, you can play your characters over here too. And it's like, but this should be different. Like,
Yeah.
I want this to be different.
The things where they do go out on a weird limb with the ancestries, like their universe's implied spelljammer, like analog, and the time raider things and the time stream and all that stuff like that. So I'm like, that's cool. Give me more of that and less high elves.
Right.
You know, like that's something unique. But hey, I mean, maybe they're like, we're already taking a big swing on some of the mechanics on this. Like maybe we'll give the familiar element. Like I don't know if I'm going to criticize them for necessarily saying, we're going to come in with something totally new that no one's ever seen before, mechanically and also story-wise and art-wise, like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't make role playing games. I am not a designer. I am a consumer. So keep that in mind. But the way I looked at it is when you Kickstart or backer kit or whatever it is, when you crowd fund a project like this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they get like all of their money and that much more for this project, like very quickly?
Yeah,
Like this wasn't
I'm
a
sure
drawn out campaign.
no, I'm sure it funded in like probably an hour or something. Like,
And so that's where my pushback on that is like, well, you got all the money up front. Why not take the biggest fucking swing you can with your thematic elements? People are already telling you, we want to see what you can do. Now, maybe their fans have different expectations from them and they completely delivered on that. And if they did, let us know in the comments if you absolutely love this game and they delivered on every thematic element you were looking for. But for me, it's like I've had it with Warforged and Dragonborn and Tieflings and Goliaths and Dwarves and Elves and all of them. I want to see something really, really new and cool.
yeah, I don't know why, because I have played characters of all these races, but ever since like 4E, I have always felt that Dragonborn and Tiefling and Goliath kind of just feel tacked on.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I don't know if I'm like, I'm too Tolkien pilled, like, and I'm just like, oh no, this is new and different. But I'm just like, it just kind of feels like I don't know what it says about the implied cosmology. Like maybe if they were their own thing in like a different non-Tolkien based world,
Right. They're
like
from
that's
their own
cool.
game.
Yeah, like they're from a different neighborhood. Like they're from Canada. You wouldn't know them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of disappointed. Mechanically, what do you get from an ancestry? Like you get some basic maneuver you can do. Rules for this game, we didn't cover mechanics. The basic roll is called a power roll. You roll 2d10, add a stat bonus to it. And one thing that I did find mechanically compelling about this and interesting is there's 3 tiers of effect that pretty much stay the same. The like below 10, I think, off the top of my head, I'd have to look at the chart, is like, A, you kind of did something, but it's not great. There's a middle tier where you did something, and then there's tier 3 where you're like, holy shit, you hit that guy real hard.
Yeah. I mean, but we need to emphasize that one of the coolest things about this, the way that the dice work in this game, is you always get something out of it. So it's always moving the combat forward. For example, like if you do get that lowest roll, you're still going to deal some damage. And I really appreciate that. We can get more into that later, but like I really appreciate a game being like, hey, this combat is not going to take all session. Like this is going to be like high impact, edge of your seat, like, go, go, go. And it's not going to be like, okay, it's your turn. Oh, I missed. Okay, next, Jesse, roll the dice. It's evocative. It's like I said, it's high impact. I would tell you, if I played this game at a table and I saw somebody pull out their phone, I'd be like, you put that fucking phone away. Get in this fucking combat. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I want to talk about the traits for the ancestries. What did you think of?
I did like this. I did like that there's a point buy system and you have different options. So one woad elf that I would never play will be very different from another woad elf depending on which traits they bought. And the traits have different points values. So like some of them are like more powerful and take more points, but I think you have like what, 3 points to spend, right?
Yeah, most do. I think one or two of them have 4 ancestry points to spend, and they add a quick build. Like for instance, for the devil ancestry, they have a signature trait of silver tongue, and then they have 3 ancestry points that they can spend on the following traits, and then they list them. And then in parentheses it says quick build, take beast legs and impressive horns, which I really appreciate, because what it's saying is like this is the overall tone of what this ancestry is. And you can read through all the options, but this is maybe what the typical devil character is. And if you're pressed for time, or if you don't know, if you don't want to take too long in character creation, just do this. This is a great pick.
Yep.
Did you have any of the ancestries that you really liked?
I mean, I thought I up Revenant, like, because I used to be goth. So I was like, Revenants are cool. Like, that's kind of cool.
Is Revenant evocative of more of the World of Warcraft influence on fantasy gaming? You think with the Forsaken?
It's the Forsaken, like it, and I don't think it's subtle. I don't think anybody who came up with that would be upset about someone making that association. There is a lot of World of Warcraft in this.
Oh yeah, yeah. If it matched up better with the classes thematics of World of Warcraft, this would be a great way to transfer, like, essentially that video game style experience into a tabletop role playing game. I will say that things like the dwarf, I was disappointed that there are dwarves, but the way that they do dwarves is cool. And it's one of, what is that analogy of what am I thinking of? The ship of Theseus? Is that what it is?
Today at work, I was talking about the Jennifer Lopez of Theseus.
Yes.
Which is, how many experiences of wealth and fame can Jennifer Lopez have before she's no longer Jenny from the block? And,
exactly. And that's kind of the way I looked at these familiar, stereotypical fantasy species or ancestry options. The dwarves have these really cool things that make them unique to this game in this setting. And then I was like, well, then why bother making them dwarves? Like, make them their own thing. Like, when do they stop being dwarves and start being this other thing?
Yep. The ship of Theseus, by the way, is a question that if you replace a beam, a piece of a ship, a piece of wood at a time, at what point is it no longer the original ship?
Yeah. Yeah.
The Jennifer Lopez of Theseus. Okay, never mind. I'll drop that one. There's just like everything that I feel about this book is just like it's so dense. There are so many good ideas.
Too many.
That I feel like they're fighting with each other.
I can totally see that. Yeah. Fighting with each other and also fighting with you, the reader.
Yeah.
Because it is overwhelming. Like I tried to go through every ancestry option and read what the different you know, the description and the write up for each one and go through all the traits. And then by the end of that section, I was like, all right, I'll just look at the quick build. Like, what does the quick build tell me? That's what I'll go with, because it just got to be too much.
I mean, the way though, like too, like the way an end user of this book is going to be, they're going to flip through and look at the art of each one, and they're going to go with the one they think looks cool, and maybe they'll read that one. Did you try making a character?
No, I did not have enough time. Jesse, I had a total of 6 hours in an airplane to read this book, and I didn't finish it in the 6 hours.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any time to even try my hand at a character.
I used an online character builder. There's resources online to make a character just for giggles to see what I could come up with. And I don't know if it was good or not, but I did it and made kind of a roguish type character. So
right on.
It was actually super easy with the tools, but I wasn't reading every option. I was just like, oh, I guess I'll pick this one. Ancestries. Anything else on Ancestries? We can talk about careers and backgrounds and.
No, nothing else for me.
Okay. Then after you have that, you have your background, which gives you pick a culture, and then you pick a career. Culture gives you a language, and one of the things, there's a lot of density in this game. Language matters in a way that I actually kind of found compelling.
Okay, why is that?
Because later, when you get to the downtime system, like if you're doing research on something, the certain downtime activities are gated behind a language where you either need to know what that language is to research that lore, or hire someone who can speak it to translate these documents on how to do something like, say, build an airship, or, you know. So it matters. You don't know that making your character. I don't know how you could unless you read the whole book or tried to read the whole book cover to cover. But this was 98 ounces of steak.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Background gives you a language, and it gives you basically a skill proficiency. If you're thinking 5e analog, gives you a skill.
This is part of the modular approach to character creation, which I think is really, really cool. And I wish was in more games, where you can basically build a character through these core milestones of character creation. You know, you aren't just all elves are this or all dwarves are this. It's you can really create an interesting character that still feels like the original Ancestry, but yet is different, so that not every dwarf is the same in the world.
Yeah, I think yeah, your culture, that's that. Career, I think, gets a little bit more interesting. From picking a career, you'll probably get a skill, possibly another language. You might get some renown, which matters with a couple of other mechanical systems later on. It gives you wealth for buying equipment. It might give you project points towards crafting and research projects, which are part of that downtime system that's going to be coming up later in the book. And you probably get a perk, which is kind of something like a feat, little thing to distinguish your character. And they do all have a list of inciting incidents. Which I love when games do this, which is like, why did you turn away from doing this and become an adventurer ready to draw steel, motherfuckers?
Yeah. Is it at this point where this game starts to feel like a bit much to you, or is that already happened? Because I think this is when it officially happened to me, where I got to this part in the book and I was like, why do I have project points? You know what I mean? Like, I get that a career provides you with wealth and skill options, maybe some languages. I understand the concept of renown. I don't know if that needs to be here per se, but I haven't even gotten to the classes yet. Why do I need to know about project points?
But a high renown can be really useful in the negotiation subsystem that's going to be coming up in 7 chapters.
Yes. So this is when it started. Like, your analogy is the steakhouse, right? My analogy is meeting somebody really cool at a party and you're like, wow, I vibe with this person. This is awesome. Like, and you're just getting all into it. You're having all these great conversations, and then they keep like just talking and talking and talking, and they're like, you're like, I don't know if I can take this anymore. Like that's what this book had an experience on me. Uh, your analogy was way better, but this is when it starts to happen for me officially, is in the career section.
Yeah. A couple months ago, we the A team, we all got together and we watched High Fidelity for Jordan's birthday at a movie theater. And man, I'm glad I didn't internalize that movie's idea of romantic relationships. But still, good movie, good music. But watching it through modern eyes, I'm like, oh boy, men don't care for women as a thing. But that's fine. Anyway, yeah, this book is like Charlie from High Fidelity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Every one of them too. Like, I hate that I'm saying this is a knock because the amount of work that went into the amount of fleshed out each one of these is, I'm like, bravo. Boy, you've got some creative people who worked really hard on this. I am overwhelmed about how I could pitch this as a thing to someone to play.
Right. Can you go more into that? Actually, we were alluding to it earlier because at last night's game, we were kind of telling the group that we were going to be reviewing this game.
Yeah.
And you said, this is not a game that we're going to play in this group because I don't think I can teach it to the rest of you. And you said the rest of you don't play games or don't do this the way that Matty and I do it. And I was like, what? Like, read the book? Like, what are you talking about?
I mean, well, that would be a brutal way to say that idea that I would never suggest that they wouldn't read the Kurt would read the book. Kurt would read the book. And
I think they all would.
Kurt's defense. They might browse it. I think Pat would buy the book.
Okay.
Yeah. For as much, if you picked this up and you were running it, you would learn it because I think there's enough mechanical complexity that's close to things to make you be like, how can I break it?
Okay.
Like how can I build a weird like a weird fantasy heartbreaker off this that is just going to make me immensely frustrated.
Yes.
And by me, I mean
you know me well.
The creator. Yes. Yeah. No, this has enough of that and enough familiar to make you do that. For me, I mean, like, oh, well, shit, there's a system I can master here. And I bet if you master this system, you can do some ridiculous things in this game. And I'm interested in doing that. But I think that those two poles, like, I feel like there is no middle position between them where this game sings for anyone who's in that space.
Gotcha.
It sings for me as what it could do tactically and with the character creation and character optimization. And I like how there are mechanical elements that hook in that you can maximize that lead towards story and role play. This game does a lot of things that I really love in role-playing games. And I think it has really well laid out systems for them. But the volume of it is just so much that I can't imagine teaching it to a filthy casual. I mean, like that's what it is. Like I don't think that would be fun for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it would have a payoff in the end that justified the time it took me to do it.
Yeah. Like I could see someone going through this book and just kind of getting demotivated to make a character for my Draw Steel game. If I was like, hey guys, I'm going to run a Draw Steel game, start making characters. And I could see a lot of people, whether they're the people in our group or people I've played with in the past, who have been like, yeah, all right, like I think I made a character. Like maybe if they use the online tools that you mentioned earlier, but I could see people getting really spun out when they're like, all right, well, I guess I'm an aristocrat. I'm going to roll D6 on my inciting incident. What class am I going to play again? Like the organization of everything, I think also plays a big role in how overwhelming this information is. Do you think it would have been better for them to the flow of this book to be more like your Dungeons and Dragons style player's handbook, where it's like basically you're learning the core rule first, then you're learning the race or the ancestry, the species, then the classes, then I guess they would do
I mean, that's what they did though.
they didn't do that when this one. No.
Yeah, no, there's a cool there's a core little section that's only 15 pages that explains this what a power roll is. This is an edge and a bane. Like this is how the dice mechanics work.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
no,
it's 15 pages. It's before the character build. It's I can look it up. I can cite you page and verse.
But it's not a quick read, and
no, it's 15 pages.
You have to get
complicated concepts, but
after you get through the ancestries, you go into background, you go into career. Like this is what I'm saying is why not go from ancestries into classes, then background, then career, or career in the background.
And also, to be fair, the basics chapter is after the 6-page glossary index.
Do you see what I'm trying to say, though?
Yeah. But I feel like I disagree with you that they didn't do that. I think they did. Just the volume of stuff they did is so much higher.
Gotcha.
Than, than say a D&D book or maybe even a Pathfinder book. I don't know. And it's pretty comparable to Pathfinder books. I feel like I've read. Yeah. I don't know. It's just God, it's so much. This 102-ounce steak.
Yeah. All right. So what comes after backgrounds and
your career? Well, you got your career, and then you're going to pick a class.
Now you're going to pick a class.
Now you're picking a class.
Yeah, I wanted to do this first. That's what I'm trying to say. I would pick a class first.
I mean, well, yeah, like 5e does have races first.
Okay, fine. Races, then classes. This is
the race page is it's like a 1-page spread for it's like there's like nothing to it. That was not the case here.
This is a tactical combat game.
Yeah.
My primary interest is going to be in classes because I want to see the tactical combat. I want to see what each one of these classes does, and I want to get wrapped up in it so I can start trying to choose one of what I would want to play or how I would pitch it if I was going to run this game. And I think classes should be first. I think you have the 15 pages you described, and then start with classes or start with ancestries, then classes. I'll make that conceit. But it's a tactical game. Like I said, what does project points and renown and languages have to do with a tactical heroic fantasy game, which is on the cover of this book? I want to get right into that. I want to start sinking my teeth into it. And I'm not a power gamer. I'm basically a story gamer who loves to occasionally go out with, tactical combat systems and have a good time and then eventually have a horrible breakup in front of his parents. But, that's just me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, where this starts to say that's what you're looking for, but then page 2 of the classes chapter, heroic resource cost. Each class has a heroic resource that your hero earns during combat. Here are the 9.
Yeah. I love it. I love this. I love that each class has its own version of the heroic resource.
The Censor has wrath. The Conduit has piety. The Elementalist has essence.
Yeah. And
why so much?
would it have been better to you if they all had the same heroic resource?
I mean, narratively, that would have been a really dumb decision. But I mean, it just feels like it adds confusion. Maybe if they just called them hero points, I don't know. How do they gain hero points? But yeah, I don't know. It's just cool idea. I'm not excited about it because
why not?
That's 9 different things I have to learn.
If you're running it, yeah.
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
you run games the majority of the time. We both do. We run more
true.
than we play. So I can understand that.
It goes into some of the combat here in the classes section to explain what you're getting into, with explaining what an aura or a burst or a cube or a line or a wall is. If you've played 4E D&D, you are familiar with all these things. This, I think, is where people might make I think, to be honest, a little lazy. Like, it's just 4E. No, it's not.
It's
They they
not.
they put a lot of thought into the other parts of the games, other than combat. But the combat part, that's cool. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody who says this is basically 4E is woefully misunderstood on what this game offers you. This game offers you so much more than 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Hmm.
This game makes 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons look like trivial. Like
Yeah.
it like in the way that you would look at something that happened in the past, where you're like, why did you guys why are movies so boring and long in the past? Why are old movies really terrible? It's like, because we've evolved as an audience. We, expect stories to be told in more efficient ways with more action and more powers. And that's what this game delivers. It makes 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons look simple and straightforward and boring.
Yeah. You've got 9 classes, each with their own heroic resources, and other classes are coming off the Patreon and stuff. I assume they'll have their own heroic resource. But each class spread is like, the censor is 15 pages.
Yeah.
It
Too
is,
many classes in this book? What do you think?
I think the classes have too much information. I feel it's just everywhere it's too much information. If they could have done like a basic expert master, like retro thing, like, here's the first 3 levels. Like,
Mm-hmm.
these are the systems you'll use at the first 3 levels. Okay, here's the next 3 levels. Like, here's the systems you'll use, like something like that. Like, then I
Yeah.
don't think I'd feel as overwhelmed. Because renown is not going to be mechanically interesting until your characters are probably mid-tier, like when
Right.
they actually have some. Um, like, I don't know that I need that right there at character creation if I'm a new player coming in off the streets. And also, too, like, one thing I'm recognizing, I can hear someone saying, like, I bet if you bought the starter box and just went with the starter box, like, probably a different experience.
Okay.
I might, if I was ever going to get people to play that, I'd probably just start with a starter box. And if they liked it, then we'd jump in.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard them talk about the starter box on Mastering Dungeon, and it seems like it's got most of the stuff in here in that starter box.
Interesting.
So at least core mechanics, which we're not even close to talking about because we're on page 13 of the conduit. So each character class, you might like this as a player. I'm overwhelmed. Each one of these has a whole bunch of choices at each of the 10 levels you can progress through. And that's why they're about 15 pages long, because it's all the choices you get to make as you level up.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think about the classes as far as like cool factor, like desire to play them, like familiarity? Like, these are the things that I always look for in classes when I open up a new role-playing game. What is the class? What is it? What is it akin to what something that I know? What makes it cool? And how much do I want to play one over the other?
I think they're all cool. I think they all have pretty easy analogs where you can say, like, oh, I see what this might be in another RPG that I'm familiar with. Like, the censor
Okay.
is pretty clearly a paladin
Okay. Yeah.
ish, or a war cleric. Elementalist is a blaster sort of mage. I mean, there's a very clear rogue analog. There's a fighter. The fact that they include psionic power sources off the bat is a check mark in favor for me. I'm like, oh, cool, psionics, neat. It's just in here. But yeah, they're cool. One thing I will too also shout out, with all of those powers, the names on the powers, like, this is where I think they really did a good job with the cinematic. touches because I'm trying to remember where they were really jumping out at me. I think it was early on in the censor. Like the name of the power is like it is justice you fear. Like that's the name of the power. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's cool. I get what that's doing. I am but a vessel. Your own deeds weigh upon you. It costs 5 wrath. Like,
Yeah, they're trying to get you to do this at the table. And I appreciate that. Like there's a power called Halt Miscreant.
yes.
You know, you want your players to be like, Halt Miscreant. And you're like, yes. And then they start rolling dice.
Yep.
And
That's cool.
it's super cool, especially since the naminess of powers begins to lose its effect and appeal when it's like Shield Born Wrath or, you know, Guardian Strike of the Oathsworn or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't really mean anything anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem that 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons had.
But your allies turn on you! Exclamation point. You turn your enemy's ire to the target. Like,
Back, blasphemer.
terror manifest. Yeah, there's cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've said too many mean things, and I feel they worked so hard. They worked so hard on this. Like this is obviously a very polished amount of like incredible volume of work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just really overwhelmed by the amount of it.
Yeah. And that's very understandable. I feel like instead of 9 classes, they probably should have had 6 or 7 classes. I think that would have been way better than the full 9. Like I find it to be a very intimidating prospect that there's going to be even more classes online. I'm just like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Like, and that's a problem. I think when you release a game and you're going to be doing like Patreon content or extra content online that you know, for a subscription, the desired thing that you want out of somebody like me is, oh, cool. What else is there? These classes are super awesome. What else did they come up with online? That's where I would want to see the psionics class. That would be, I'm on the other side of that equation than you are. I don't need a psionics class in this game. That's something I would start looking for online. But
Okay.
I've gotten so much.
I mean, if I was planning on playing this, I would definitely be I would definitely be a Patreon backer for this.
Okay.
Like, because I would want more at a regular interval, and I think that's a really cool business model they're trying, because I don't think it's really been done before, to support a major book release with
Not
like very clearly here it is, and like good, if they can make it work, good on them.
Yeah.
But again, like like what is the frequency that you're making a new character in this game with new players? I
don't know. Yeah. Do you have a class that stuck out to you that you really liked out of this group?
No.
Really? Why not?
I mean, I hate to say that it all kind of seems like there's a lot of shine on like basically a burst 2, like the 4E problem, you know?
Okay.
It's got a cool name. It's a burst 2 that does damage or pushes somebody, you know?
Okay.
I mean, like, what would I play? I'd probably play a null, like,
Nulls are cool. I like them.
The psychic warrior monk sort of thing. Like,
Yeah. I think it's the best version of a monk in fantasy that I've ever seen. And I think it speaks volumes. I think a lot of the classes, if not all of them, speak volumes about really taking the idea of magical fantasy to the nth degree, as just like, it's a world of fucking magic. And so these classes represent that. In 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, there are so many caster classes, it's obnoxious. You know, and it really does kind of make it pointless to have fighter and rogue. You know what I mean? Because they're mundane and kind of normal, and you got to zhuzh them up, because how are they supposed to thematically stand shoulder to shoulder with the warlock, the
Yeah.
sorcerer. You know what I mean? And I think 5th edition does a very good job of achieving that goal. I love that this game is just like magic everywhere, power fantasy, fucking go like fantasy superheroes,
Yeah.
magic powers, everything. So I really liked the idea of the null specifically. I'm like, this is the best version of the monk I've ever seen. It's the most convincing version I've ever seen. Its powers are really cool, and it's a neat twist on not just the overall thematic concept, but also how it integrates into the rest of the game. Uh, being this like stoic figure where powers don't affect them, or they don't use them, or they're resistant to them the way that other classes are. Like the null is a great name for this class. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
My favorite class was the Shadow, which is funny because I don't typically play sneaky rogues, but
But
it
it's
builds
also got
on
the
what I
woad
just
elf
said.
art.
I like these woad elves. I don't like the name, but I like the way they look. I like the idea of being like an alchemist driven shadow with like poison and bombs and I believe the shadow has an ability called like time bomb, if I'm not mistaken. One of these classes has an ability called time bomb, where you use the ability, and then the amount of time in between when you use it next actually makes the next time you use the ability more powerful. And I was like, that's fucking cool. I really like that. And this game is full of shit like that. And just the majority of that kind of really came through in the Shadow, where it didn't as successfully come through with some of the other classes right away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I if I were to play this game, I'd be playing a Shadow. They look really awesome.
Cool. Well, that takes us on to kits.
Yes.
And we've been at this an hour. All 116 ounces of this Wagyu steak. I really like the kit system. So here's what the kit system is. The kit is basically something like Arcane Archer, Cloak and Dagger, Martial Artist, and it says this is the armor you wear or you don't. This is the weapons you fight with. Here are the bonuses you get for using this kit. Here is a basic power to do it. So, like for example, I'll just dual wielder. You wear medium armor and wield a light weapon and a medium weapon. You get a bonus to your stamina, which is kind of like hit points. You get a bonus to your speed, so you move a little faster. You have a melee damage bonus at each tier of damage, and then you have a bonus to disengage. And then there's your power, melee strike weapon, melee 1. It is your main action. It targets 2 creatures or objects.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called double strike. Why strike once when you can do it twice? Ha ha! Ha ha!
Yes.
His blades crossing an X. If you're a fan of Driz to do Erden.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way that this is laid out, it says it's a power roll plus might or agility. So depending on whether you're an agile fighter or a strong fighter, you pick your bonus. Probably going to be at first tier, like +2, maybe a +3. And then here's how it reads. If you roll an 11 or lower, it does 4 damage. If you roll a 12 to 16, it does 6 damage. And if you roll a 17 or higher, it does 8 damage. You can also hit one guy and then maneuver, it says in the rules. So that is a very basic thing. Power you can do. That's just the weapon damage.
And you can make different kinds of characters that dual wield. And I think this is a very elegant way to satisfy the fact that people want to dual wield in fantasy role play without tying it into specific kinds of weapons or specific classes or specific elements. And that's what all the kits kind of do. This is what I was talking about earlier. I really do enjoy the modular aspect of character creation.
Yeah, this is a thing that I also thought was really cool. I like the idea that you could, though it's weird, because your class kind of just gives you a power set, a preference for a damage type, and a general sort of theme, you could play a shadow that is the mountain kit.
Right.
Like, I'm just walking around in heavy armor with a shield, like just taking hits and stabbing people, I guess. You could play a gnoll that's a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that weapon restriction is not tied to your character class. That's cool.
That is really
Arcane
cool.
Archer Elementalist and Arcane Archer Null, neat. Those are going to be different characters doing some cool stuff. And I thought that was cool. I like how they did that.
Yeah, I really appreciated it.
Okay, that's kits. Perks. Chapter 7, page 227. We are 124 ounces of the steak.
Right.
Perks are feats.
Basically. But perks are feats for the part of the game that's not necessarily combat. There's exploration perks and interpersonal perks and intrigue perks.
Lore, supernatural.
And these are, like you mentioned, they give you really cool stuff in the game. But is this needed in a tactical fantasy first role-playing game? That's my question to you.
It's oddly only 5 pages. Like all of those different categories of perks.
I feel like these are here because they think players expect them to be here. Like, for instance, one of the perks is, if I'm not mistaken, familiar. A supernatural spirit who has taken the form of a specific small animal or animated object was chosen to be your familiar, and then it gives stats for it. That's a perk. And I feel like that's only there because people who play Dungeons and Dragons like to have familiars.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you could get away with doing this game without familiars. I don't think, do perks need to be in this game?
I don't know. I don't.
Without playing it, right? But you have to look at the amount of real estate that this takes up compared to everything else.
Do I feel that without perks, I can't differentiate my character from somebody else's character? No, I have a lot of modular options.
Right. And that's speaking to what we've been saying this whole time is there's just so much. I think if you removed perks from this game, I think it would be a good thing.
Okay. How about complications, which is our next chapter?
Oh, God, complications. This is the part of the party where I'm like, I don't think I like this chick anymore. Like, I was super into this. I'm having the night of my life. We're drinking. We're talking all about philosophy and fantasy and all that great stuff. And then complications comes up. And you're like, what was that you said about your relationship with your sister? That's a red flag. That's what complications chapter was for me, especially since, if I'm not mistaken, this part is optional, right? Like, is it this one or a later one?
I mean, aren't all rules optional?
Well, isn't there a part of this that specifically says this one is optional? Or am I getting ahead of myself?
They're optional. Yes.
Okay. If it's optional, if you're going to say that in this chapter, why do you even bother having it in the book? If it's optional and you're launching a platform of extras online for subscribers, this is perfect. Take this and put it online for your subscribers to add an extra element that is optional. If this is optional in this game of all games, it does not need to be here. And it's things that people will come up with for their characters themselves, right? I mean, at the end of the day, most of the people that I played role-playing games with, their parents were killed by orcs and they're out for revenge. That's their complication, or some slight variation thereof. Do we really need to tell people, hey, you're an anti-hero, and by the way, you get a benefit and a drawback from it, in addition to all the other shit you have to remember to play your character class at the table? You now have 3 anti-hero tokens. Whenever you use an ability or other effect that costs your heroic resource, you can spend 1 anti-hero token in place of the heroic resource. Awesome. So now I have another thing I need to keep track of. If this is optional, why is it here?
This is like, on vibes, I think these are cool.
Yeah.
Like stolen face, an evil fairy cursed you, leaving you with a blank visage instead of a face. Although you're able to imitate other people's features, you'd like to have your own back. Like style wise, there's a whole bunch of things. But like in my defense, when I picked the armored sentinel robot pilot for the Rifts Chaos Earth game, and it gave me proficiency, like robot pilot expert with like 3 different types of power armor and like 3 different giant robot suits. I printed a sub character sheet for each one of those and recorded all of my bonuses with the weapon systems on those. So I have a stack for my character sheet. So I can be like, what am I in now? Oh, I'm in the bulldog. Okay, here's all my bonuses right here. I had fun doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Around this part of complications, I'm like, please don't make me write anything else on my character sheet.
Right.
Please. Again, digital tools are out there. They're great. They're free, accessible. Like, but like, man, it's just so many good ideas that I'm like, I don't know where to start. Like, I'm like a kid. I'm like a toddler who like got all the juice I asked for, and now it's the end of the day, and I'm sticky, and I'm full of sugar, and I want to puke, and it's too much juice.
Right. You're that kid that went to the fair and begged their parents to go on every single ride, and you did, and you had so much fun that now you're throwing up at the end of the night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a kind way of putting it. I don't know, I think that if you need efficient digital tools in order to make a role-playing game appeal to play, I think you fucked up. D&D Beyond is the best thing about Dungeons and Dragons, in my opinion. And that says a lot, but I can play Dungeons and Dragons at any table. I took my D&D books to a conference because I know there's other nerds there. And I thought, hey, instead of us going out bar hopping, why don't we just fucking get drinks here and fucking roll dice? I got my D&D books and some character sheets. Let's do it old school.
How was that bar hopping?
Yes, great point. But I'm that kind of person.
Yeah, no, I will say, like, for contrast, as during this week, as that, we're reading this book, and I was doing a lot of my reading yesterday on Sunday. I mean, I had been reading through knowing we were doing this, but I was finishing up, getting some notes together in my head. I went to Half Price Books and I found the Cairn second edition box set. Cairn is an OSR rules light game where you have 3 stats. And anytime you try and do something that has a chance of risk, you roll a saving throw, trying to roll under one of your stats to see if you avoid the risk of what you're doing. The rules are 2 pages. And so I have that in my head being like, I could teach this to anyone. I could have an open table. Someone could come. They make a character in 3 minutes. We're ready to go. This is in line with that thing we're going to talk about next week if they come out in order with the open table.
Mm-hmm.
No on Draw Steel. Motherfucker. I don't know why I want to keep adding that. It's all this steak I've eaten. It's making me meat sweaty. Yeah. Tests.
The next section.
The next section is test. Here's where they start to lose me.
Oh, here's where they start to lose me.
Well, here's another place where they lose me. The fact that you have a different range based on it, whether the test is easy, medium, or hard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is basically like your skill check. This is what tests are. Different from combat because those powers all have their own little range. This is written the same way, but it's still got the same 11 or lower, 12 to 16, 17 higher. That's success. But if it's hard, a 17 or higher, you succeed on the task. A 12 to 16, you fail. An 11 or less, you fail and incur a consequence. If it's medium, 17 or higher, you succeed. 12 to 16, like this is too much for me to memorize.
Yeah, and you're the dungeon master.
Yeah.
Or the game mother.
Yeah.
Or the director, as it's called in this game.
Yes, because it's cinematic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you. It makes me think since this game is getting compared so much to fourth edition Dungeons and Dragons, did fourth edition do it right or wrong with the way they did skills? Because skills are extremely limited in form and function in fourth edition.
I will say that I think this game actually, despite that complication of like, it's this for this and this for this and this for this, despite that complication on the rules, I think this has a better skill system.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think fundamentally that even though it's a lot to read, coming up is montages. A montage is kind of like a skill challenge, except it's cinematic. So it's like he's gonna be doing the montage thing, and like montages, I think are better fleshed out and better described, and there's better guidance on how to run them than there was in
montages.
4E. Yeah, I think montages is the thing I will probably be stealing.
Yeah.
For a different game.
Yeah. Montages don't go longer than 2 rounds. And that's by design. One of the problems with 4E skill challenges was you'd have everybody try to load a bonus of aiding another or helping out onto the one guy who could do the thing the best. And then everybody held their breath as that person made the roll, and it made skill challenges really boring. And then you also had this side effect of skill challenges where you would have somebody who was like, well, I don't have anything I can do here. So I guess my character like does a bunch of cool maneuvers with their swords and tries to inspire everybody to do a good job. And it's like, cool, Charlie, what are you going to do next round? You know, Montages solves that problem.
Yeah.
It's only 2 rounds, the success versus failure rate. So the way that it works is X number of successes or failures first in order to pass the montage. And, you know, skill challenges had a very similar system in place, but it just felt so empty when you finished a skill challenge. I never ran a skill challenge where the group was high-fiving each other. When I ran skill challenges, everybody was just like, oh, I'm glad that's done. Let's never do that again.
The thing most people say about skill challenges is like the best one were the ones where you didn't know you were doing this. I feel like the guidance in this makes it easier to do that.
Yeah.
Like you'll know you're doing a montage, but you like nothing about this says, say to your players, now we're doing a montage. Like, you know, but yeah.
But if you did though, that would still be cool. Like as audience members of cinematic entertainment, we love montages. You know, they're in movies and TV shows. They're fun. I would have no problem being like, all right, guys, everybody tell me what you're doing in this montage of you guys like building this, you know, this thing or getting past this stone statue or, you know, collapsing the traps in the room, you know, before everything goes to shit. You know, maybe you don't do a montage. Maybe you just take it right into the action. I don't know. But I like the fact that it's called a montage because I think that's something players can instantly go from, you know, we're doing this to now we're doing this. The passage of time is different. That's one of the problems I have with negotiations, which comes up later. Combat slows down time into a certain framework in order to make that happen in a role-playing game. A montage takes that time and begins speeding it up.
Yeah.
And the rules need to reflect that. You don't want to spend a lot of time in a montage because otherwise it's not actually a montage. So I like the verbiage, and I would have no problem saying to my players, all right, we're going to do a montage. You know, everybody get excited.
Yeah, okay. I can see that because then it gets them thinking about how to describe it visually as about what you see them when the camera gets by. And this is one of the things I'm going to steal, again, the Mastering Dungeon guys who have, if you want to hear a more balanced and positive take on Draw Steel, go check out Mastering Dungeons because they really like it.
They were designers on this game. Just want to add that. So just that caveat. They were designers on this game. So
were they designers?
Yes, they're listed as designers in the credits in the book that I have open in the PDF that I paid for.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, then they're going to be more positive because they designed it. But for a different, you know, it's good to have a wide variety of opinions on things.
Oh, of course.
Um, I lost where I was. We've been
They
talking
did a
about this
much
thing
better
for so
job
long.
of talking about this book than we currently are. And they made a point over on Mastering Dungeons about
Oh, no, no, no.
montages.
There's a thing they do that they were talking about doing when you introduce new characters at a
Hmm.
like at a RPG. And it's like, you remember in those like in an 80s TV show where the opening credits play and you see a scene of like the character doing something and then they smile at the camera?
Yeah,
What's yours for your character?
I love it. I
And
love it.
I think that works with Draw Steel in a cinematic, but it's I think in a montage, it's just like what does the camera see that you're working on for this? I really liked Montage too, because at the time I was reading Montage, it was also right after this came out.
Hmm.
And we were talking about the like I was talking about running the Dark Sun game using 4E, and I was thinking about how I would build a montage for crossing the desert in Dark Sun, like kind of merging the rules from a skill challenge in this, and I thought it was a fun little thought experiment. So I like this. I could see how it will work. Shall we go on to combat?
Yes.
In that case, draw steel, motherfucker. Combat. I don't.
This is the most digestible chapter in the book.
Yeah, this is the part that was speaking the language I already understood. I was like flipping through it, like, okay, I get this. I don't know that I have anything to add. I don't know that Draw Steel has anything to add with the combat. It's tactical. It's crunchy because you've made so many choices about your character's tactical crunchy options to get here, right up until page 279.
Hmm.
Have you found it? Are you there?
I'm almost there.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I'm there.
The picture of the polder on the pony jumping over this wall, this small stone wall, awakened in me an erotic fire that I did not previously know. Next to that picture, there's a
Yes.
little bolded bullet that says "How Combat Ends." And here, despite having read Index Card RPG, my mind was blown.
Ooh.
Objective endings. There is a whole list of different objective endings that meeting that objective can end combat. And spoilers for the Monsters book. In the Monsters book, the first good quarter of that book isn't monsters, it's how to build these encounters for these objectives. Practical, hands on advice for what obstacles and limitations make sense at this objective. Objective, diminish numbers, defeat a specific foe, get a thing, complete the action, hold them off. Like the way that this gets you thinking about how to end a combat so it doesn't just go on to kill everything down to the last hit point.
Yeah.
For a game as tactical at this is where I was like, that is a cool design.
Hmm.
That is some interesting and thoughtful shit, and I love it. And when Pat asked me if I would talk to him this week to help him design the combat, I was thinking about this from Draw Steel.
Yeah. The combats, like we mentioned earlier, are not supposed to take all session. They're
Yeah.
supposed to be very quick, actually. And the momentum of combat comes, or the resource and power of the characters comes from the building momentum of combat, which I think is my favorite thing about the combat aspect of this game. You
Mm-hmm.
are building up, your characters are getting more powerful. It's coming to this climax of this objective ending or this key moment in the battle. And I think that if your game is going to say cinematic on it, this is what's going to produce that. I think
Yeah,
it's
the mechanics
yeah,
the mechanics drive you to keep going and not to stop and
right.
take a short rest or a long rest or whatever. Um, like you earn victories and like you get more powerful as you go
Right.
on, and like it's a risk reward thing. And the point at which you rest, which is called a respite, which is a 24-hour period, you turn your victories into experience points, and then you can do downtime actions, which we'll talk about in probably about 45 minutes when we get to that section of the book. Um, yeah. There are some really cool design things going on here.
Hmm.
Please don't think that maybe this is a little late for that caveat. Hopefully, we've thrown it in earlier. Please don't think we're saying this is a poorly designed game, but there are some choices they made that make this inaccessible for me, a person sitting in front. This is a quarter of my RPG library. I'm 45. I've been playing since I was 9 years old. I have a fucking podcast about role playing games. This was inaccessible.
Wow, I love it.
Who's the audience, man? Like,
we're going to find out. Spoiler alert on that.
Yeah. Shall we move on to negotiation?
Yes, please. Now, you're going to have to explain to me how negotiation works, because I've read this chapter 3 times and I still don't get it.
This is going to be like effective challenge level all over again. This is 3.5 was the only one who could understand how savage species works. And I tried so many times. Okay. You have 2 sliders, patience and interest. Okay. An NPC that you're in a negotiation with has a patience and an interest. There's a thing in the back for the director that's like a whole list of samples. Like, here's a guy that you might have a negotiation with. Here's what his starting interest and patience are. Here are a couple things that they, what are they called? Motivations. Here are a couple possible motivations. Here are a couple possible pitfalls. Here is the level of renown the PCs would have to get a bonus because they're impressed. They know who the PC is and they're impressed by them, because that is in here. So it's both of those numbers, interest and patience, are scale from 0 to 5. As you go into the negotiation, you are trying to raise the interest while the actions you are taking are decreasing the person's patience. And if interest gets to 5, then they make a final offer. Or if patience gets to 0, they make an offer or don't, based on whatever the current level of interest is.
Yeah.
You with me so far?
Yep.
I like it.
You like it.
I like it.
I don't.
Okay.
I do not like this at all. I think this is needlessly complicated for a game about tactical fantasy combat.
But it's heroic cinematic.
Oh,
Tactical.
okay. My bad.
And there are tactical things. This is where the perk system can interface with it. And there are tactical things of uncovering learning motivations and pitfalls. Like having to do your research before negotiation in a way that is both strategic and tactical, which gives some teeth for those social players. Like for me too, like one of my favorite RPGs of all time is, do I still have it on the shelf? The Exalted game, which has a very rigorous mechanical system for social interaction and social influence. Right. So I'm used to mechanics beyond just a persuasion check for this. I think this is a nice level of simplification compared to, like, say, Exalted, where it's just like, yeah, okay, cool. You make an argument. What are you appealing to? I'm appealing to this guy's greed. Okay, cool. I've got a list on my thing. This guy's greedy. That works. Because you hit the motivation, you rolled this. All right, the dude's interest goes up, but his patience goes down by 1. His patience is now 2. His interest is now 3. What's your next tactic in the negotiation? Because at each stage too, so here's the thing. Say you got him to interest 3. The interest 3 is yes, but. Right? So you give him a yes. Well, I think I can do that for you, but I'm going to need you. And like, I can either live with that or I can press my luck and keep trying to negotiate. Hopefully driving the interest up to a yes, or up to a yes and. But there is a chance, because, it's dice, that it might drop to no. But you can help me out and I'll consider in the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this much work for my NPCs.
I don't think it's that much work if you use the pre-listed things in the director. Like,
Fair
I don't know
enough.
that, like, if you get yourself into a situation where you're every time you write an NPC's name, you think I have to write out what their motivations are and all this in case a negotiation comes up, then yes, I see your point.
I mean, I maybe to be fair, I don't know if I've ever seen an appealing social interaction system. I think that social interaction systems are inherently problematic. I'm sure there's games out there that have amazing ones, and I hope those are the centerpieces of those games. If I had a game that had less emphasis on combat and more emphasis on social interactions, I think this would be a great like beginning to that social interaction system. Like, here's how you do negotiation. That's where I would be looking for something like this.
Hmm.
But I know my NPCs, or I can create them on the fly. I know what their motivations are, or I can quickly scribble them down. And then I know how to have them interact with my player characters, and I don't need to reference a sliding scale. Like, I know what I want the player characters to get out of the experience, and I don't want to have the rules get in the way of the flow of making that happen. If the characters are trying to negotiate to get through a mountain pass or to get aid from the king for an army, it's like I already know the things that are going to make that happen. Those are already in place. I don't feel like I really need a sliding scale system to give them just enough of said thing based on however this interaction went according to a mechanical system. I feel like we can just role play that out. I feel like this is kind of making one of the really fun things about role playing games less fun for me, at least on paper. Now, maybe I could hear an actual play of how this works, or maybe we could try this out and I'd be like, actually, this is fucking awesome. I love how this works. It's like, but do we need to like uh, add mechanics to every single thing? You know what I mean? Do I need mechanics for social interactions around tense negotiations? It's like the lore check example that we make often on this podcast, right? Where the characters need information to progress in the game to go get the MacGuffin and save the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why am I going to hide that behind lore checks? You know what I mean? Why would I be like, well, now you can't go find the MacGuffin because you don't understand ancient elven law, maritime law? You know, like that doesn't add up for me. What makes more sense is to be like, you know that the MacGuffin is over there. You know how to go and get it. You find out this information, and then there's some bonus shit you can learn that helps like bring the world to life. And I feel like the same thing goes for a social interaction, where it's like, I don't need a mechanical system as a gateway to helping the player characters get to their objective. So
Yeah.
hopefully that makes sense. You know, this just seems like too much busy work for a thing I didn't. It's like an answer for a question I didn't have.
Hmm.
You know, and
I can see that.
that's why I don't like it. Now, if you're a group that doesn't like role play, I think this system would be awesome. I ran a game for people that didn't like role play, and what I should have done was get the fuck out of that group, but I didn't. I stayed in it for way too long. But if that, you know, if I was going to stay, then I should have had them do something like this, but this wasn't available at the time.
Yeah.
You know, so if you got a group of like, this is another optional thing, in my opinion. Hey, guess what? In Draw Steel, if you've got a group that doesn't like role play, we've got a negotiation system that's going to knock their fucking socks off.
Yeah. I mean, having the mechanic system could get in the way of substitute. And like, there could be a definitely awful situation where just like, I appeal to, I appeal to greed. Okay. Here's my roll. I got a 13.
Yeah.
Okay, greed is one of their motivations. Your tick is now this. Who's next? I appeal to their sense of honor. Like, yeah, you're doing that. It's going to be tedious and fucking awful as shit. But like,
Right.
for me, having a little bit of the framework of like appeal to honor to think like, I'm going to try and do an in character appeal to honor. That's a useful tool that I like. It's a
Yeah.
prompt for role play for me. And the fact that there's a mechanical system to kind of level the playing field, cool.
Go more into that, leveling the playing field.
Like it doesn't entirely, it makes it a little bit more fair
Okay.
in
Fair
that
to
power
who?
balance between the GM and the players.
Okay.
Not that I think that every game needs that, but for this, for like something like a negotiation, like I can see that like this is an area where there could be some contention. And you know, I don't think too, like if it's core plot critical, like your MacGuffin example, and this is probably nitpicky, sorry. I don't think that you want to gate information for campaign progress behind a negotiation,
Mm-hmm.
right? But like if someone is like the problem is there's an army invading, well, we want to go to the king to get some troops. That's one of the things we're going to try and do. That's a
Mm-hmm.
negotiation,
Mm-hmm.
and they can succeed or fail, but that doesn't mean they have no way to stop the problem. It just means they try something else. And then even too, like segueing into downtime projects, which is the next chapter.
Here we go.
Which is it's a series of project roles, but you need some prereqs like an item and a language skill to study the lore, or someone who's an expert in this lore to do it. And then you roll and you accumulate your project points, and eventually you get enough that it happens. Like that's a great situation. I think to build an airship, item prereq, win crystal of quintessence. You got to have a negotiation with someone to get that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not plot critical, but like, hey, like the location is in this map. You know that the location is in the library of blah, 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 blah. And, but only the monks of this order are allowed in that library. What are you going to do? Like, well, they can either sneak in or they can try and talk their way in. And so you're either doing a heist or a fraught negotiation with the library keepers, who then have a quest that they give someone in order to get their favor, depending how the goes. Like it all starts to hook together. This is the point at which I was like, maybe I was a little hard on this book for the last 200 pages.
Yeah. But here's my pushback on that. I love everything
Is
that
it
you're
the
saying.
fishing? Is it the go fishing and downtime projects?
Here's my pushback on that. Everything in my class write up is about fucking kicking ass in combat in a way that really sparks my imagination and gets me excited to play this game. Looking through the classes, looking through the combat section, I'm like, yes, I see it. This is really cool, very innovative, very detailed. I really want to see how this works. And you can add these modular elements like perks, for instance, to try to assist the negotiation. But how many pages was that perk section? And how many of those perks deal with negotiation specifically? Everything on my character sheet is about kicking ass in combat. And then there's these modular things for everything else. So, you know, that's what the game is telling me it's all about. So the negotiation thing just kind of feels tacked on to a certain extent
Okay.
because there
I
isn't an equivalent, and there shouldn't be, don't get me wrong. There aren't equivalent evocative game mechanics and rules on my character sheets for negotiations or explorations or downtime or backgrounds and careers. These are all modular elements. And I just don't feel like negotiation should have the real estate there.
okay.
That's my personal opinion. That's my preference.
I think this is an area where the mechanics support the cinematic style they were going for.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Like it does, I don't know. I would say it checks the tactical box, but cinematic and heroic, I think that system checks those.
But doesn't that kind of feel like not an afterthought, but a secondary priority? You know, like we make fun of Dungeons and Dragons because they're like D&D has 3 pillars of play: combat, exploration, and social. And you're like, no, you just have one pillar of play. It's combat. And just own it. And I'm not saying that, this has to be the same way. I'm just saying, like, some of this game gets me really excited, some of it doesn't. And as we've been saying, through the 2+ hours that this podcast is going to end up being or whatever, it's just too much.
Yeah.
So that's what I have to say about it.
Okay. Chapter 13. Well, there's chapter 12, downtime actions. Downtime, the point, there's a table of events for each one. There's a series of events. There's an events table for the specific downtime action of go fishing, where you catch a talking fish. At this point, I'm like, cool, moving on. Rewards. This is treasure. This is a treasure chapter. There's no DMG, so they just give you all your treasures. These are examples. They have keywords. They have prerequisites to make them, because making any of these could be a downtime action. They're cool fantasy magic items. I don't know what else to say.
They're very well done. Like the imp tongue, right? Where you put it in your mouth and it absorbs into your tongue. Did you see that one? That one's my favorite. Like, as much as I've complained about certain parts of this game, detail, cool factor has never been a problem. All these magical items are very cool, very fun. Well done.
The part that I just thought, like, hats off, this is cool, at the end of that is the titles.
Okay.
Titles they're an echelon for your character's echelon, but they all have like a prereq that you have to meet to earn this title. And then you can call yourself that and people call you that. And it gives you, a small bonus in some way. Battle Axe Diplomat. Prerequisite, you gain the friendship or alliance of a creature you once battled. Effect, choose one of the following benefits. Iron Hand and Velvet Glove. The first time during a negotiation that you make a test using the Intimidate skill and don't make an argument that appeals to the NPC's motivation, you don't lower their patience or interest, no matter what the outcome of the roll was.
Mm-hmm.
You can get away with being a blowhard because you have turned an enemy to a friend. Enemy to lovers? Okay. I think I like the titles system.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like a video game achievement for a pen and paper. Renown. You can build a stronghold as you're in and attract followers. It's one page. Wealth. That's money. Then there's gods and religions, and this is the point where I tuned out. I don't care. I don't care.
I don't care either.
Anymore.
The setting is not interesting to me. I'm sorry, guys. Like, if I run a Draw Steel game, it's going to be in my own setting, or it's going to be in a stereotypical D&D fantasy setting. It's not going to be in this setting. I don't like it. It's just not interesting enough for some reason.
It doesn't do enough new.
Yeah, that's the reason. Yeah.
Okay, and then there's the section for the director.
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't really go into building combat encounters because that's in the monsters book.
Which is fine.
Yeah, it has really good practical advice. Like, there's a whole thing like, here's how you run a negotiation. Here's sample negotiators. There you go. Tool for you right there. Here's how to prep a montage test. Here's some example challenges. Here you go. Here's how you run downtime. Like, it's just each section of the rules that I've gone over. It's how to do it. How do you, there we go. It's cool. It's practical hands-on advice for these systems. I think it's useful. So that's the book. Clocking in page 400 with a quote. Life's like a movie. Write your own ending. Keep believing, keep pretending. We did just what we set out to do. Thanks to the lovers, the dreamers, and you. Kermit T. Frog.
Yep.
That's the quote on page 400 of this book.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm glad I bought it.
Okay.
I'm gonna steal stuff from it.
Yeah.
Normally, I feel at this point of one of our reviews, we would have talked ourselves into the point where we're like, yeah, we should try it though, just to make sure. No,
No? What
no.
if I ran a one shot, a draw steel one shot that had no negotiations in it? Because there
Put
just isn't enough
negotiations in
time.
it and I'll play.
Pre-made characters. We spend the first session explaining the rules, and then we play in the next session.
Okay. Will I play it if somebody offers?
I'm offering.
Yes. I will play Draw Steel if you offer to run it. Will I run this? No.
Interesting.
No. But I will steal wholeheartedly stuff from it,
Mm-hmm.
such as montages, possibly negotiations, though behind the scenes.
Yeah. You know, there's another game that I love and I steal from it all the time. It's called Index Card RPG. It has its own system to play it as a standalone game. That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
I don't mean that I don't mean any shade on the people who worked on that game. I just think it's a better product when you use its parts instead of playing it as a whole. I do not feel the same way about this game. This tactical combat gets me excited. The character mechanics get me excited. It's overwhelming. There's too much of it. But, you know, if you had given me a trimmed down version of this book, 3 classes, 5 classes, 3 ancestries, you know, stuff like that. Here's only a handful of backgrounds or whatever. I think this would have gone over a lot better for me. There's just too much, as we keep saying.
Yeah.
There's just too much in this book. It's like somebody at some point should have brought in some sort of editing point of resistance. And I think it like that is what is in my way to running and playing in this game.
I feel like this came at me at the speed of a Matt Colville video.
Okay. I love this game. I am deeply critical of how it was organized and presented.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of the setting. And I'm extremely disappointed that these extremely creative people didn't do their own thing when it came to ancestries and worlds and like how magic works, you know, just, you know, what the gods are, whatever. I know they're capable of it, but I'm ultimately disappointed by that. Like I said, I would have loved MCDM Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, this goes back to a very, very much earlier episode. Does fantasy RPGs need to get weird? In no way, shape, or form do I feel like they got weird.
Yeah. I feel they teased getting weird.
Yeah, like they imply that there's weirdness, but I don't know. Okay. So I feel like at the end of the episode, we can't discuss this without mentioning what it came from, the crisis of open it licensed earths or whatever. So like this is, of course, MCDM's response to the open gaming license crisis I use.
That I forgot about.
Yeah, I didn't, but I was watching a guy who does cooking videos. I wish I could remember his name to shout him out for anyone who watches, but he had a big board where he was just like, performative activism is stupid. Me, like, I wish that was my quote. So the crisis of open gaming license, of all the stuff that came out of the open gaming license crisis, I feel like you can't talk about this without talking about its cousin brother, like Daggerheart.
Okay.
I started really negative on Daggerheart because I'm just, you know, biased against Critical Role for reasons I'm trying to reflect on and be better. And the more I heard about Daggerheart and then spent some time with the book, I really liked Daggerheart, and I'm interested in putting that thing on the table someday in the near future. This one, I was actually more excited to get my grubby little mitts on. And after my experience with it, I'm like, I'm not excited to get this one on the table. It's just it's too dense. I don't want to teach it to anybody. That's basically the sum of my complaint is I don't want to teach this game to anybody because I don't think it would be fun for them to learn it from me the way I teach RPGs, because system mastery matters to me. And I don't know that this game is fun without some system mastery.
Interesting. Well, we are going to find out one day, because one of my all-time favorite gaming experiences was taking a group of 3.x D&D players and putting 4th edition in front of them after my friend sold me on it after a 45-minute conversation while he was in China. And I went and got the books and I put it in front of my group, and just seeing D&D work differently essentially was a very charming experience. And I'm hoping to replicate that same charm with Draw Steel, because our group doesn't play games like this. Our Sunday night gaming group we do not do games like this. We can sometimes use an online grid, like a map system or virtual table tools.
You have to use a map for this. I don't think we mentioned that.
Right. But, I think our group is really going to enjoy this. And I'm excited to see how it lands. I'm excited to see how I teach it. And I'm excited to see what I succeed at and what I fail at. So I'm like the opposite of you in this regard. I'm not going to have system mastery. And I think that's going to be part of the fun. Because I think once we actually get cooking with it, I think that our group is really going to actually embrace it and enjoy it. And who knows, maybe we'll try out a negotiation if things go really, really well. And maybe I will have my opinion changed on that.
I had to sneeze. I have a bit of a cold. I'm sure the listeners can hear. Okay. Well, I guess at that point, then at some point in the near future, then we're going to draw steel, motherfucker. Yeah, I'm going to play around with the hero builder.
Right on.
So that's what I'm doing from here. Draw steel, MCDM. Was it 2 hours? Was it right about?
Yeah.
Hour and 50. Okay. Well, get out there. And if you have thoughts about Draw Steel, you can reach us at jauntymantis@gmail.com. And it's all one word, Jaunty Mantis, JAUENTYMANTIS @gmail.com. Also at Jaunty Mantis on Blue Sky. Or in the comments of the YouTube video below down there. If you like what you heard,
web zone.
Yes. Ungovern your cylinders, people, and leave us a review where you heard this or where you see it, or a thumbs up like. We appreciate it. It gets it out to other people that might like the podcast, and then you can talk to people you know about. Did you hear what those crazy people at the Jaunty Mantis, how they challenged Matt Colville to a fight?
Did we?
You did. Don't you remember doing that?
Then get ready to draw steel, motherfucker.